New York's Deputy Police Commissioner for Intelligence and Counterterrorism, John Miller, is with us. So, John, what security steps are we taking here at home in response to this attack overseas?
So, Nora, this started last night. We have an NYPD post in Australia. We have a very close relationship with the police in New Zealand. So this information was coming into us in real time, and very quickly we identified we're going to have to increase police presence around mosques, around houses of worship. We're going to have roving patrols. Our house of worship cars that are assigned to the precinct to keep that liaison with religious institutions are going out and making contact. You'll see a public message of reassurance. We got calls already this morning. Friday prayers is very important in Islam.
They said that it's packed at that time. What do you see, John, when you look at this attack?
What I see is a lot of similarities in terms of tactics. You can see that the neo-fascist groups, white supremacists, are borrowing from the ISIS playbook. In this attack, you see the phenomenon that we coined the phrase in the NYPD, dying live. This was an ISIS tactic where they said if you're going to do a mass casualty attack, you should live stream it over social media. We've seen them adopting many of the tactics, the terrorist tactics you would see in things like ISIS's Rumiyah magazine or Al-Qaeda's magazines in terms of instruction.
So, John, tell us where, in your thinking, the threat is from white nationalists. We also know of the Coast Guard member who was plotting along exactly the same lines. Where is that in your threat matrix?
Well, I mean, you saw the attack on the mosques in Canada, an active shooter attack. You see the Pittsburgh synagogue attack. You see some of the propaganda and online forums there. So this is something that we monitor very carefully. It's something that has been emergent. We're seeing an increase in the propaganda. Again, when we look at their propaganda, they are borrowing propaganda techniques from other terrorist groups. So this is something we watch very closely.
You were telling us that you know the police commissioner of New Zealand quite well. Walk us through what he's doing right now to investigate this.
Well, Mike Bush has three, major areas. First, he's got to deal with crime scene, families, victims, and public messaging. He's got to deal with the investigation, which then goes very quickly to the questions we've been working with them on overnight, which is, who is this offender? What is his background? What is his connection to other people? Are there other people out there? Is this a one-off attack, or is it part of a series? And then dealing with a terribly complex crime scene.
Yeah. On that point, CBS News has just learned that law enforcement in New Zealand says that the suspect is claiming, because he is in custody right now, that there are other planning attacks on mosques in New Zealand in the works. Is he boasting? What do they do about this?
Well, you have to take everything like that seriously. I'm going to be very careful not to speak to New Zealand. That could be a scare tactic. That could be accurate or inaccurate. We're very early in this. Our work overnight with New Zealand and our colleagues over there was, what's the information you have on identities? Has there been travel to the United States? Are there associates in the United States? What information can we push back to you in New Zealand that would be helpful?
But the fact that they have a suspect
hang on, Gail.
alive.
So far, this is important.
Yeah. Okay.
What we see is no significant U.S. nexus, keep digging, and more importantly, from our individual perspective, no nexus to New York City. So we've been talking to religious institutions. We've been talking today about we have an event. Should we cancel it? We're going to provide police resources, reassurance, protection, high-profile resources, and we tell everybody, you don't cancel anything. Otherwise they win.
Yeah, but it's hard to take that thinking, though, when you see something this horrific. The point I was going to make, the fact is that they have a suspect in custody who's alive gives, I would think, authorities a great advantage here.
Well, it does, because now you have somebody who you can talk to.
Yeah.
Somebody who, based on the manifesto, based on the writings that he carried on him and his equipment, someone who seems to want to have a message.
Does the fact that bombs were reportedly defused from his car raise heighten the security threat?
That's a factor we've seen before. A lot of these attackers go back to Andres Breivik and that attack where they try to exceed the casualty rate, the equipment. You saw explosives there. They tend to mimic each other. So I would say that's going to be a non-surprise here.
All right. John Miller, good to see you. Thank you so much for being here. I know on a very busy morning. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.